Okay. Hello everybody, today I'm going to do a video demonstration of my very simple crusty white loaf, and I've had so many requests for this recipe, so I'm going to go ahead and tell you what I do. I'm going to take a photograph of the ingredients I use. This is a non-gluten-free loaf. I've already shown you the loaf I make for myself because I'm low gluten or gluten-free, and also my lovely spelt loaf, but now it's time to show you what I do for the lovely man who is not gluten-free. This is a very simple, easy loaf, hardly any interaction. You just need to do a little tiny bit of mixing and kneading, then you can go off for a coffee while it rises, come back, and it's all very pleasingly risen and you can just come and do the next bit for 5 minutes, put it back to the second rise, bung it in the oven, and it's ready, and it's all very satisfying, and you can feel very clever and domestic goddessy and all that, even if you're a boy. That's very important. Okay, so I'll talk through the ingredients, because actually the ingredients I use are significant, I suppose. I have experimented quite a lot over the years using cheaper ingredients, more expensive ingredients, different brands and things, and I find that these are the best combination. So this is what I use. Okay, first of all, most importantly, is the flour, which is, I'm not sure if that's going to be reversed like a mirror when I video it, but either way, this is Tesco's finest bread flour, and it's very strong. Okay, now I'm sorry this is UK specific. I'm sure you'll have the same type of thing in different countries. But it seems to me that the difference between strong flour and very strong flour is quite significant, because when I've used strong flour in the past, it hasn't ridden quite as well as this one. I don't know why. Either way, second most important is the yeast. I've just got these sachets, 7-gram sachets of easy bake yeast. This is the Allinson brand. Now that's significant because before I was using the Tesco's own brand, which was a little bit cheaper, but not much. I just instinctively went for the cheaper one because it seemed to be identical, but actually it's not, because the Tesco one appears to have gluten in it. I can't remember exactly what it said, but on the back of the packet it does actually say it contains gluten, so I can't use that for myself, and because I'm making loads gluten-free and with gluten, that I want the one I can use as well. So the Allinson one appears to be gluten-free, which just seems far more sensible. Okay, then I use, I'm going to put some toasted seeds in this one. You can add all kinds of things to a loaf, you know, different nuts and fruit, dried fruit I mean, or seeds. Seeds just make everything better. On any savoury or sweet dish, it just makes everything so much better and bumps the nutrition up loads, so it's great. And then finally, well not quite finally, obviously there's water that goes into a loaf, and I'm going to use a little bit of olive oil as well. But finally for me, a pinch of salt, literally a pinch. I'm just showing you the whole packet so you know what I use. Don't go and use a whole packet of salt. Anyway, just crunch that up fine, and anyway, I'm going to video myself making the loaf now so you can see exactly what I do, but it's very simple. In fact, I'm sorry to remove the illusion that I'm terribly clever at making bread, because it's incredibly easy, and like I said, you can feel very proud of yourself when you've got a nicely risen, beautifully scented loaf in your kitchen, cooling for the rest of the morning. Okay, then I'm going to go ahead and make the video. See you in a moment.
Okay, so here I'm putting the flour into the bowl after zeroing my scale. Just weighing out 500 grams. And adding in my seeds, and then the sachet of quick yeast, and then finally I'm going to add in a little sprinkle of sea salt, just crunched up in your fingers. It's as simple as that. You can just bung it all in the bowl and give it a bit of a stir. So I'm mixing it all together, and then I'm going to make a little hole in the middle where I'm going to pour in some warm water and a little olive oil as well. I put them together in the jug. It was just easier that way. And then quickly pour them in. Here we go. Okay. And then I'm just going to quickly mix it all together. You just need to pull it together so that all the ingredients are combined, and it's enough together that you can get your hands in there and begin kneading. It literally just takes a couple of minutes. And there we go. So next, you're going to tip it out onto a clean counter and continue to pull the dough together with your hands, and then begin kneading. To be honest, it literally just takes a minute or so to pull it together. And you need to put your back into it a little bit, but it comes together really easily, and I found this dough to be very forgiving. It doesn't seem to get too dry or too wet, although you could always add a little bit of flour or a little bit of water should it be too dry, although I doubt it. It's never been a problem for me. There we go, I'm really putting my back into it now. It's not very hard work. Okay, that's about it really. You pull it together into a nice ball of dough. It's very satisfying. And then you can put it in your bowl and leave it to rise. Okay, so we popped off down the coffee shop, and meanwhile our dough was very happily rising in a warm place. We left it there, well actually we left it for a bit longer than needed. It's only really needs an hour, and we left it for an hour and a half perhaps. We came back and found it as shown in the diagram, nicely risen. So then it's going to need a second kneading, but again literally just for a minute. You'll need a little bit of flour to because it will have got a bit sticky whilst it was rising. And then tip it out onto the counter again and give it a second little knead. I always feel sad at this point because it's like you're compressing it again after you've just let it inflate, but it does the job and it rises again nicely. You're going to let it rise again quickly, but the second rising, it doesn't take as long. I mean, you can just leave it for, well, I left it for half an hour, 20 minutes might be enough. Depends how warm your warm place is really. Here we go, and again I'm giving it a good knead, making sure it doesn't get too sticky. And once you've kneaded it for a little while and it feels nice and elastic, you can pat it into the right shape. Now you could make it into bread rolls, or you could make a round loaf. or you can do what I did and use a loaf tin. I find it looks like quite a professional looking loaf if you put it in a tin like that. I oiled it before I put it in there, so it doesn't stick at all when it's rising in the oven. So I sort of roll it into a sort of cylinder and then just place it in there. Make sure it looks comfortable. There we go. Now it's ready to be risen a second time. So I put it back in its warm place. And here it is again, the beauty of time-lapse recording. Doing its thing over 30 minutes. There we go. So it's ready to go in the oven. I'm going to put it in for, well, 45 minutes about. Always review things for your own oven. And it's going to be on at 220 degrees C. Try not to open the door and peek too many times when it's in there because, you know, it's going to be happier if you just let it do its thing. What I do towards the end of the cooking time is I take it out the loaf tin for the last 10 minutes and put it like naked on the shelf. So it's all brown, as you can see, all the way around. Enjoy!